are you? Who am I? What are we doing here? Hello, welcome back to Meanwhile on the Other Stage. Today's video is a long one because I'm gonna talk about all the albums which came out this past winter. And we didn't have a chance to review some of them, most of them, but I thought that they're worthy to talk about, so here's a video. It's called Missed Reviews, Winter Missed Reviews. Welcome. Before you fight me in the comments about why the fuck this video is in the middle of April, just don't. Chill. It's cool. I'm good. We good. I'm trying to catch up on the releases, on like reviewing releases, and it's pretty difficult. You gotta chill there. Anyway, our list today starts off with cupcaKKe, Veteran, his Veteran album, the hip-hop fresh new figure that pretty much everyone fell in love with, including me and myself. Now, I really appreciate Veteran because for me, it blends up together so many things I love in modern music. Like all those genres, bands, collectives, individuals, brilliantly intervened and presented by the genius of Barrington Hendrix. Veteran sounds immediate. It's a very hectic album with a lot of unexpected turns without really room for you to take a break. Basically, just we all love it. Baby I'm Bleeding, probably the most listener-friendly track on the release, is actually currently my favorite one. And yeah, I'm a sucker for weird as fuck production, and this album delivers. cupcaKKe, thank you for this release. I hope you continue doing that later on. Veteran, a masterpiece. Next is quite unexpected. It's an original soundtrack, composed soundtrack by Jonny Greenwood. You would never really hear a quite disturbing and brutal film by a director I really like, Lynn Ramsey. I did enjoy this movie, but only after I actually experienced the soundtrack first. It's glorious, everything about it. It fits the anxious and peaceful at the same time atmosphere of the film a lot. It varies in mood sets drastically, and you never really can guess what's coming, like what's next. Now, in the movie, I don't think the soundtrack played that big of a role. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe that was the intention, maybe I didn't get something, I don't know. But nevertheless, I am really impressed with this album. I really do recommend you to check it out and watch the movie as well. Basically, yeah, I applaud the mastery of Greenwood because man can compose such deliberate, deep pieces of music in all these different genres and opposite styles. It's a unique talent of our times. Next album is by Rejjie Snow. Whoa! Dear N.E.R.D, his album came out, which is so good, filled with such pure, sparkling, relaxing, positive energy. It's so nice. This album sounds like late spring, mid-spring, late spring, summer album rather than a winter one. So yeah, thanks Rejjie for saving the horrendous cold weather for all of us with this. Dear N.E.R.D can lack some lyrical experiments and overall sound maybe a little bit safe for you, especially after listening to something like Veteran, for example. But I do really like to come back to this album a lot, and I do like the narrative in it with some really funny, hilarious moments. I like his delivery and his voice. So yeah, basically I'm in love with Rejjie Snow. Thank you very much. Dear N.E.R.D is amazing. This release will stay with me for a long time, that's for sure. Next EP is by Dapperton. You Think You're a Comic? Exclamation mark. I'm a big fan of Gus. I think he has a lot of charisma and this old school charm about him and his artistry. It could remind you of like Pitchfork fanatics around guitar festivals, but hey, nothing wrong with that. I'm into it, and I honestly think you should be too. And you know, you should embrace that culture. It's just 4 songs. There's this pop banger about Prune, some sadder balladry, a lot of DIY aesthetic, and an absolutely heartbreaking Beyond a Man's, which sounds just incredible. I love this track. Next album is another hip-hop album. It's by Rhye, The Legend. I was kind of worried about this release because some of the latest singles, pre-album singles, they wasn't really my cup of tea. The album actually came out just fine. There are a lot of really nice moments on it, especially production-wise. I can say that I legit like about 70% of this album, which is a lot. Perhaps you could cut out some tracks, but anyhow, great debut full length. 88 Rising representing Conquer. I'm really happy about that rise, about Asian hip-hop finally showing their faces, you know? Another soundtrack on the list. I was actually supposed to review it separately because one of the viewers requested it. I'm really sorry, but I'm gonna talk about it here. It's Black Panther, the soundtrack. First of all, I'm not really a big fan of Marvel, but I am really happy about this film's existence. And on the album, the soundtrack, Kendrick holds it on together so beautifully. I love how wholesome it sounds, like it's a whole another visual by itself. You don't even necessarily need a movie with it. The collaborator choice killed it. I think I like Ops track the most. It sounds like something of the latest Vince Staples LP, and I'm really biased towards Vince Staples, so I'm really into this. When I saw the track listing for the first time, I thought that SZA will, you know, shatter my heart in thousands of pieces, but surprisingly it was Georgia Smith all along. She was absolutely mesmerizing on I Am. I love this track, though SZA is also great. All the collaborators on it are amazing. Talking about inspiring newcomers, I think I have to mention Blair and his WLP from last year, December, Cat Heaven. It's a fragile, interesting, mood board type music album with this extreme youth thrive feeling to it. If you're missed being a teenager or you're like totally stressed out in your adultness, try this out. I think this brings out the character you're looking for. Not really consistent at times, but overall still a very cute and very pleasantly sounding release. Also, I guess I really do miss listening to guitar music. Now, a little bit more developed, a little bit more 80s and more young adulthoody sounding, but still fully in a fantasy world somewhere. It's Borns and his new album Blue Madonna. I can't really say that I come back to this a lot. I feel like Garrett struggles one more time to bring out the same amount of interest throughout all of his release, but it doesn't mean that it lacks great pop moments. I was anticipatingly waiting for Shame to come back, and oh boy, they did not disappoint. Their latest Songs of Praise is absolutely fucking gorgeous. It's a beautiful release. I think calling it a British music revival would be wrong, but it definitely served that role for me because I didn't really listen to a lot of British music lately. That's really weird. I like this side of alternative rock, post-punk elements sounding vibe, and I do really like the lashed chaos feeling of it. Yeah, I'm just really looking forward to seeing Shame perform it somewhere. Maybe this summer? I don't know, I do really want to see it live. I think it would sound fucking great. Another comeback I was waiting for a lot was Porches. I am a big fan of his previous albums, and now the new one, The House, kind of continued that path. I like some of the new sets he brought out to his sound palette, as well as more familiar sounding themes. Porches lacks a little bit of experimentality maybe, but he manages to make me enjoy his music every time. There's something in his ghastly delivery and those synths, it's just pure magic. Have to put cupcaKKe in this list as well because she's an absolute bombshell. She's a killer queen, and she totally slayed on her new album. You can think it's a joke one, it's a funny one, you can think it's a relatable one, you can think whatever the fuck you want really, but hey, you can't really deny that it's a banger, it's a conversation starter, political, it's personal, it's everything. You can't really fuck with cupcaKKe because we will all literally kill for her, destroy you, and her album is a big mood. That's it. Kero Bonito released their new EP, which was a huge shift for them, I think. And I'm a full supporter of that shift. I like it much more than their previous outputs. I like how psyched and distorted the scary, nightmarish fairy tale sounds like. Some of the EP's moments legit can hunt you at night, but they also sound perfect. And now this Death Grips / Kero Bonito collaboration doesn't really sound that weird at all. Makes much more sense, doesn't it? This is a great EP. This is how I wanted Avril Lavigne to sound on her that Japanese promotion thing she did. Instead we got that meme of a music video. I don't know. Anyway, KKB, thank you. If you watch our videos religiously, you should. You can probably remember that we are a big fan of Everything, and their latest LP was amazing. Now we have this sort of additional EP to that called A Deeper Sea, and it completes this album perfectly. The songwriting abilities, how they made their songs sound so listener friendly, yet still stand out and be slightly more different. It's absolute magic. I appreciate this band a lot, and I'm really happy they've decided to give us more, even though one of it is just a remix and the other one is a live version. Still, thank you. Talking more British bands, the Wombats came back. I didn't think that I would talk about them in 2018, but hey, here we go. Their new album, Beautiful People Will Ruin Your Life, by the way, relatable. Surprisingly, I found myself really enjoying this earlier this year. I had a lot of like indie days flashbacks of like 2009, maybe 2010, with a good sense of fresh pop tendencies. They've managed to blend it together. The Wombats thrive with joy and youthfulness once again. I can't deny the brilliance of it. I'm sorry everyone, it's a great album. Public Access TV from New York released their follow-up to their debut, which I appreciate much more actually. I thought the first record was a bit bland. Now this one, Street Safari, smells of good old groovy New York streets with its cinematic sound Mac and a great vocal delivery in this almost like this Strokes style. And yeah, basically with this insane amount of groove. It's a album full of groove. You'll walk with a little dance on the side if you listen to it next time you're going out. Also love the old school rock and roll feel, like on the track Rough Boy. It's great. Now I'm definitely one of those who consider Public Access a little bit underrated. Now I understand, and I definitely agree. You should check them out, they're great. Richard Russell, the legend, has presented this brand new project of his called Everything Is Recorded. It's a beautiful collaborative album, and it sounds like a silky Sunday daydream to me. Maybe I'm super biased because there's a lot of Sampha on it, and I'm like Sampha's biggest fan, maybe, probably. His presence and most of the production on the album, those are like the highlights for me. Though there's still more great things, like all the other collaborators, and like Richard Russell himself does a great job of, you know, putting it together as one record. It's great. It feels gentle and warm. It makes a lot of sense coming out in winter because it sounds like, you know, it sounds like an early spring, like all the nature waking up. It's beautiful. Quick shoutouts to Black Milk and his now fully vocal release Fever, which I feel was a great step forward and a beautiful showcase of his multiple talents. Franz Ferdinand, who reminded me of Muse in a weird way, like Muse in their better days, made me dance and enjoy my day. Always Ascending sounds euphoric and just right. I really appreciate this. Rhye's new release gives me a big no by the cover, but the inside is actually quite pretty. I love the rich instrumental palette and the overly relaxing atmosphere behind it. Now, if you're lacking some pure electro pop and miss French wave, then listen to Mai Lan, Autopilote, I guess. Some of the tracks from this album legit still are stuck in my head. It's a really good consistent pop record, and also the names which pop out in the production list are quite impressive, so check this out. There's a new album by Sun Lux, Brighter Wounds. Now, I'd say if you like the band, then you probably will love this release a lot, as it sounds like something Sun Lux would do any year with any release of theirs. There are not a lot of experimentation practice, but it doesn't mean that there are no good tracks. I get a lot of holic, euphoric, scaled visions while listening to it. It creates a very dramatic and cinematic mood around it. Finally, against all logic, huge and allegedly groundbreaking album, 2012-2017. I'm still not entirely sure how I feel about it, but you know, the amount of times I went back to listen to it, to give it a try, to understand why the fascination, why the praise. I think that implies that I can put this album in this list, and you know, there's still some moments that I really like, so it's an interesting and out of nowhere kind of album. So yeah, if you didn't really had a chance to listen to it, I do recommend you to do it now. You may ask, where's N.E.R.D's new album, N.E.R.D? The thing is that I was and am actually still kind of disappointed by No One Ever Really Dies. It has some shining through moments, but overall, the waiting, the hype around it, the overplayed singles from it. It kind of killed it for me in the first place. And then there's also like not really a lot of hard-hitting tracks by Pharrell, who's really good at making them. I don't know. Maybe this one is a grower, but so far I don't really hear it, unfortunately. I feel the same about this Justin Timberlake comeback, except there were also not a lot of memorable singles like Lemon or Rihanna. Plus, it's unnecessarily long. It's a very long release and it doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry, but yeah, it just didn't click with me. Another albums I think I might want to add to the disappointment list would be Fall Out Boys. I don't even remember the name of it. Mania? Is it Mania? And G-Eazy. Though it's not like I had a lot of good expectations about either of them. There are, of course, a lot more albums from this past December, January, and February. We've reviewed some of them actually on our channel, but you know, everything else not covered. If you think that I've missed out on something, let me know in the comments down below and write your opinion about this LP, EP, whatever. That'd be really nice. Thank you. Also, don't forget to like this video and to share this video and to subscribe to our channel. This is very, very important for us. Have a nice day. Goodbye. Peace out.